pot of money set aside for that outside of the build contract. It's a different provider that came in to do it. It's a slightly different contract for them though. So yeah, absolutely success. On time, budget, quality was very good. Miller did a great job. The buildings were sustainable. And as I said, everyone seems to be friends. We're still all friends. We're still in contact with each other as well. You know, so it's a hugely successful project. Challenges. What would you say are the main challenges with a project like that?
Well, that's what you took at the sites.
Massive issue. Really big problem. In terms of, you've got one contractor doing 2 sites a mile apart. Resource is always a bit of a problem. We were fortunate that when we set out, that the way they set up is they didn't use the same labour force on both sides, so they didn't have the same brickies doing it on both sides last year, because if that company went down, that would take both sides. Yeah. So that was a very complex challenge. Anything else?
Live school.
Live school, yeah, huge problem, you know. So fortunately, they're quite big in terms of the site, so we could actually segregate the live school and the new build school. There was obviously crossovers, so it's always a big challenge. Delivery is a huge challenge. Highways always want to get involved in these kind of things as well, so you have to demonstrate to highways and things like that. Anything else?
Cash flow.
Pardon?
Cash flow.
Cash flow, yeah, absolutely. And these were done on evaluation every month. So we obviously cash flow the project at the start. We'd go out every month and value these projects. Sometimes we'd knock the contractor down by a few quid. Sometimes they'd actually claim what they legitimately built. So yeah, cash flow is always a problem as well. For contractors, definitely. So yeah. So brilliant. Obviously, the FM implementation is a big challenge. When you've got a big school like this, and you're trying to operate it, you're trying to get the FM company in, it's always a big challenge because they need to learn and know that building instantaneously. So they need to be involved from the very, very beginning, looking at the designs, working with the design. So yeah. So in terms of lessons learned, host of them, loads of them. Technical aspects of how you build such a project, and you get that on every project, and the important thing is taking them with you and applying them to the next one. I think for me the biggest lesson learned on this scheme was the actual power of communication and teamwork, because this wouldn't have come off if collaborative approach wasn't there. So it was very important to work. Okay, good. All right, one more case study, because I know time's pressing on. And this is Peterborough United Football Club, the Moyes End stand, education facility. So you can see it here, just one stand that we were developing. It's still in progress, this job actually. Who's involved? With Peterborough City Council. The end user is the football club, the client's not the football club. The end user rents it back off the council. That's not uncommon in a lot of football clubs at the moment. Mace was the project manager and client agent. We were also the cost consultant on this job. The contractor's Kier. Sing Kier's praises, they're doing a very good job here. CDM coordinator was Peterborough City Council's in-house. This job has BREEAM on it, and it's building sciences that are doing it, and the facility management of the educational facility under the stand will be done by Serco. In terms of my role, I was first involved in this job in 2011, so a long while ago, and then for various reasons it went on hold. I moved off and delivered these 2 schools, and then came back and got involved, got the project through contract close onto site last October, taking it through until May this year, and then I've handed it over to one of our assistant project managers. So my role now has kind of changed more to a monitoring role and a mentoring role for our assistant PMs delivering this on the ground. So in terms of value, 7.6 million construction. The contract is JCT Design and Build 2011. Now, I don't think I've said it before, I should have said it before, and I'll say it a couple of times before I finish. Know your contract inside out. You really need to understand your contract, because every contract, in terms of if it's an NEC, it works very differently to if it's a JCT. You need to understand the difference. It's very important that you understand it. You need to know what the works information is that sits behind that head contract. You need to know that, because you don't know what you're going to build otherwise. There's a question.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Previous schools, you said design build, JCT?
No, they weren't. It's a good question. Sorry, I should have mentioned it. So the design and build contract part of that, it was an education funding agency contract. So it's a bespoke design and build contract. It was partnerships with the school at the time, but they've got their own bespoke design and build contract. It looks very much like a JCT, a little less complex. It's a bespoke one. So you'll have your bespoke, you'll have a JCT, you'll have an NEC, you'll have the fitted white book, which they use internationally, and then you'll have ICE, etc. So there's a number of different contracts. So understand works information and understand what you're supposed to build, your employees' requirements, get those right, because that will make life easier when you're trying to deliver and build this. Stand will open in November. And the educational facility for Sittingbourne will open up in December. In terms of an overview, that's been fitting the seats 2 weeks ago in the stand. So it's owned by Peterborough City Council and it's leased by a football club. It's 2,500 seat stand, so pretty small in the grand scheme of things, and do Wembley, etc. But for that club, it's a big stand. It's an important part of their future. So we had to demolish the existing stand and then build a new stand, and that stadium stayed live. So we didn't say no football for a year, we just said, fine, you can use 3 stands, we'll knock this one down and then rebuild your stand. So again, when we look at the challenges, you can have that as definitely being one. BREEAM, very good, but not for the stand, just for the education facility under it. So it makes things a little bit more complex in trying to get all your credits for your BREEAM very good when you're only dealing with half of a bigger picture, half a building. So. And the FM, again, for the educational facility, which is a bit that sits under the stand, is by Circa. So in terms of the contract, we were up to stage E in old REBA terms. What's the new number for that? Is it 4? 4, isn't it? REBA E is now stage 3. Anyone else? Oh, okay. Old terms stage E before we went into contracts, which was fairly well designed, and then the contractor took over the design with their own architect. I haven't mentioned project execution plans, but I'm sure you've covered them. Again, vitally important to get them in, get them developed early, get all the roles, responsibilities, change management processes in there, project directories, etc. And keep it as a live document. Too often, project execution plan is prepared, looks wonderful, forgotten about. You need to keep it as a live document. So again, media interest. You would expect this club to have a bit of media interest, and it certainly have that. So there's been local papers involved, industry magazines, topping out, groundbreaking. There's a nice photo at the bottom there from the local paper. Media interest I suppose, is a different dynamic when you're thinking about project management and delivery, but you need to have that in the back of your mind all the time. So, in terms of success, challenges, lessons learned, success, so far so good, it's not complete, but it's on the right track. And for all the same reasons that we mentioned previously, this is a repeat client of us, Mace, as project manager. They have other projects in the pipeline that they are asking us as the project manager to look at and deliver for them. So that's, in that sense of success, hugely positive for us as a service provider. It's maintained the profile of the club within the community, and it's so far exceeded and achieved client requirements and expectations. So far so good. Oops. Wrong slide. Challenges then. So what do you think of the challenges we've faced so far on this job?
particularly for football stadium, right?
Big problem, especially on the south stand when the away fans have to walk around back off the new grub stand. So it's always a bit complex, and the police have to be involved, and the safety advisory group have to be involved. So it is, you really do need everyone's buy-in, the contractor, the enthusiast buy-in, the PM, RQSs, everyone needs to be involved and actually work together on that. So use of the contract and phasing, you need to get that right, just define which phases, which area they're going to work in. If they're going to complete some works early, make sure it's redlined and all of that set out so you know where they should be, because then the insurances will come into play, etc. So again, that's back to the works information and the employer's requirements, getting those right. And expectations of the fans. You wouldn't believe that, nice new stand, it's disappointed that it's for the away fans. One of those challenges that you will face on the project. So lessons learned. Same again, technical design all the time, always going on every project, but the power of communication and teamwork really comes to the fore on projects. So, with 10 minutes left, I pose one question. Who wants to be a project manager, and what do you think are the most important skills a PM needs? The top three, let's go for the top three. Perfect. Leadership, excellent.
Organisation.
Colin?
Organisation.
Organisation, very important.
Health and safety awareness.
Health and safety awareness, absolutely.
Understanding the concept.
Vitally important. Too often forgotten about until something goes wrong, and by the time it's gone wrong, it's too late. So you need to be aware so it doesn't happen and materialise. Absolutely.
Good relationship.
Absolutely. You want to go to work with a smile on your face. You don't want to go to work stressed out every day. If you're arguing or having problems, things go wrong. If you've got a good relationship, you can work it through and understand it. You don't have to balance. So absolutely really key. Yeah. Motivate, manage, coordinate. I like that. A little bit of a punchline. Trust. You need to trust who you work with, and you build that trust through communication, rapport, and understanding. Adaptability, very key. You need to be able to move, shift, and change, because things will happen. That means you can't carry on the road you're going, so you have to be adaptable and actually work these things through.
Challenges on the project.
Challenges on the project, yeah. So in terms of, you need to be able to deal with them, and you need to be proactive in dealing with them and seeing them early. It's very important. Risk management, hugely important. Risk management, people prepare risk registers. What happens to risk register? Reviewed once a month, maybe. You need to be actively closing those down. Risk reduction meetings every week, even if it's only a phone call or a conversation.
Mobilisation skills.
Mobilisation skills.
That goes wrong in projects, really.
Exactly, yeah. So really important again, and that comes down to both the technical and the soft skills, isn't it? Working together. So yeah. So in a nutshell, that's kind of covered all the topics. So some fantastic answers there, really. So now I've got 10 minutes left. I'll let you out 5 minutes early, as they say. So careers. Okay. So does anyone want to work for Mason now? You can see me at the end. Come see me. Collect CVs. I know some of you are actually out working. I know some of you are in earlier stages of your education, so you may want to look for 10-week summer placement. You might want to have a sandwich year out, or someone will be graduating and want to go to the graduate scheme. So in terms of opportunities, take pick. We're hiring in all areas at the moment. So I would recommend project and program management. That's a pretty good one. And the QS is cost consultancies. Pretty good. So summer placements, 10-week placement starts in June for those that are interested. On-the-job learning, if you perform well, it can lead to a sponsorship after follow-on years at university, and then obviously opportunities at Mason when you graduate. My cousin in Birmingham took a 10-week placement. He's now an assistant QS. Uni being paid for. So it just happened. This isn't just a slide to entice you. I can say it happened. Industrial placement program. One of my team that I line manage, he is on a 1-year program at the moment with us, and he's getting exposure to some fantastic work and being able to apply what he's learned in the last couple of years to industry as well. So again, it starts in June. On-the-job learning, a structured training program. So you don't just come in, be handed to someone and say, get on with the job. You have structured training, you have to attend certain courses, etc. So again, it's a great opportunity if you so wish. And then the development program, this is for the graduates out there. It's a 2-year program, starts in September. Structured training program, competitive salary, I would say a very good salary, and benefits package. It was voted the best graduate scheme in a recent survey, and I can't remember who it was with, but it's definitely as the #1 graduate scheme. So what do we look for? Minimum 2 undergraduate degree. We do take non-covenant students, so i.e. non-construction industry degrees, and it's pretty much go on the website, application, then luckily you come to interview hopefully, and then you go to your assessment day, and fingers crossed you are accepted. So, summary. So in summary, project management, people the most important resource. You've probably started banging on about this for the last hour, but it is so vitally important. And you need to come with the right attitude. It's not about being contractors, it's not about following processes and only following process. It's actually about working together. And be a sponge. And what I mean by that is listen to people, learn from people. Everybody's got a story, everybody's got some piece of knowledge or information that you may not have. So you just listen and absorb and take on board. So as I said, it's really important just to know your contract, know your work's information and your employer's requirements as well. Again, third time now, start with the end in mind. Motivate, manage, coordinate. Start with the end in mind. Know what you're trying to deliver and know what that looks like. I don't say visualise how you get there, because that's going to change. You just know where you're trying to get to. Okay. And then Mace and our graduate scheme. Mace is a great place to work. I'll be there 4 years this February. It's a great place. There's a great social scene there as well. Everyone works well together. It's some fantastic offices, some fantastic projects. International expansion means that we're always looking for people. 2 of my friends have gone to work in the New York office, and they're just living life to the full over there, which just makes me slightly jealous, but hey ho. And yeah, so if you do have an interest in Mace, come and see me after. For those of you who don't, free to run off. Fine. I'll just finish with some questions, not for you, but for you to me. And open the door if there are any. Yeah?
In the sustainability consulting, obviously it's becoming more important part of that. I don't know what is involved, what is sustainability consulting?
Well, it can mean anything really in terms of you have a client that has a requirement for BREEAM. So they'll take us in and we'll do an assessment of the designs, we'll follow it through and construction, we'll do the pre-specification, completion specification. We'll be looking at, we did a project over in Canary Wharf where they were looking at the energy efficiency of some of those towers. You know, the ones that are lit up 24 hours a day, turn the lights off. You know, that's kind of the answer. But I know that's a ton of cheapness, dismiss it, but you know, that's the kind of thing that we'll get involved in, we will go out. So Mace internally, all our construction projects, we have KPIs, key performance indicators in terms of sustainability. So our team will go to the sites and they'll sit there and they'll make sure that we're not taking timber in from, you know, far reaches of Asia when we can buy it locally down the road. We're not travelling 100 miles to site it, so it can cover. I didn't answer your question because the answer is so wide. It really is. It's whatever you have an interest in. But if you want more details, website, macegroup.com. Any others?
What percentage do you have of women in your company? Because from that picture it just shows a few women.
In your grad scheme? Or in general?
In general.
All women are just in the front row. I just sorry.
Oh, that's a lot.
I would say. I don't know the answer. All I do know is that I have a team of 6, and 4 of those are 4. With 4 of those are women. So out of my team of 6, 4 are women. So I would imagine it's pretty high up there. Even the board, you know, there's a lot of women now on the board as well. It's a very diverse company. And that goes for most construction companies. If you go to site as well, it's fairly diverse now. Any more? No? Right, okay, well that's me. Yes, yes. This is a hard one.
Follow Sam's question about sustainability. When you were talking about schools,
Yes.
and I know we haven't as a class, we haven't totally touched on Graham, and we won't do that really until the next term, but you said Graham is engineered out projects.
It was because the local authority at the time had their own directives in terms of sustainability, so they had their own carbon reduction targets, which just took Brianna off the water in that sense.
Do you mean were higher?
Much higher, much more stringent, much higher. So that's the route they've taken. So that's why Brianna's value engineering.
Second question relative to procurement. If you sit in the box of project management, or maybe this crosses into cost consultant, like any individual who's PMing who would like to be in control, you would prefer the client doing exactly what you want because then you can control. How much either like virtue of influence or appointment, because they can be completely different, do you advise clients in terms of procurement? If you're not paid to do so specifically, do you try to steer them if you see they're going in the wrong direction?
In terms of procurement of a contractor? Or
In terms of the procurement strategy for the project, because that could cover the PFI, that could cover the
Yeah.
FM, that could cover the whole gambit. And some clients have what they perceive to be really efficient ideas that perhaps you know, by virtue of experience, by virtue of benchmarking, that may not be the right answer because they haven't been exposed to another alternative.
Yeah, I think, again, it depends on the scope and what you're brought in to do, but in terms of our professionalism, we've got a duty of care to make sure that if there is something untoward or if there's something that we don't see as right, we flag it up. We do get involved in procurement reports, we do get involved in giving benchmark data to clients as well when they ask for it. There are some projects, I can't say which they are because they're quite sensitive at the moment, but the rates that they were trying to go out on are probably lower than the market at the moment can deliver to. So we're doing some benchmark data there, and we're revising in terms of where they should set the level of rates that the building can be built for, and trying to beef up some of the appetite of the contractors out there. We also get involved in procurement of consultants. We also get involved in public procurement, OJU notices, pre-qualifications. That's everything we do. We do all of that as the project manager as well. So it really is the cradle to grave scenario in that thing.
Yeah, I've got a few things to say, but if you'd like to make work together. We actually don't know each other terribly well. We met at a MACE workshop relative to the High Speed 2 rail link, relative to BIM. And we come or we came looking at BIM from different perspectives. So we were part of a working group that Mace called in to give a perspective on something that they were utilising or maybe plan to utilise on a project. From meeting at that event, I persuaded Mark, and I have to say it didn't take a great deal of persuasion, to come in and talk to you today. We've not worked together rather obviously in a PM perspective or from a PM perspective, but I have the impression that he's probably a very good PM, simply because I gave him an outline brief and he delivered. He delivered absolutely everything I asked him to deliver to you today. Last weekend I looked at his preliminary presentation for you and I asked him to make some changes, and like any good PM, he actually undertook the changes effectively. He, as you could see, was very time conscious. He was aware, he's aware in terms of what your study areas are, he's aware in terms of what your current formative assignment is. What is really quite nice about having somebody from, quote, the real world talking to you at this stage is all of those subject areas you are going to touch on with me and with other people in the next 2 semesters, Mark has mentioned, because in some shape or form we are going to touch on every single aspect of project management. Obviously lots of them are linked, lots of them overlap, so that was, from my perspective, a really good opening visiting lecture, so I am really appreciative. You've got a formative out there, and hopefully you've got a few more ideas in terms of the formative right now. Next week, we should be looking at the RIBA stages of work, the question that you actually couldn't answer. So maybe you need to start looking at that right now, but that's what we are addressing next, because we are rather relatively working from the big picture downwards, and as we progress, we'll start to look at some of the more detailed aspects of project management. Before we wrap up, and you've got quite an early finish today, has anybody any questions in any regard? And that's not how to get a job in Mace, that's Mark's domain. Any questions, queries? I'd like to know where the other 30 people are, but that's not your concern, really. The lectures, the should.